live on YouTube, and listen back on Spotify. This is the World of Football podcast.
Good evening, as Mr. Unai Emery would say, and welcome back to another edition of the World of Football podcast. If it is unfortunately just me and Reece for the time being, Mr. Julio Lasci will be here very, very shortly. He's just running a tad late, but hope you all guys are doing well. We got an absolute killer show for everyone. But aside from that, it is his show at the end of the day. He's probably looking forward to one of the most hyped pay-per-views coming up on the weekend in Survivor Series. Got to add a little WWE reference in there. Mr. Reece Russell of the Weekly Steel Share. How are you doing, sir?
I am very well, thank you. Was a busy week for me last week. Work, streaming, of course, amongst other things. I did full gear watch along. There won't be a Survivor Series one, unfortunately, but I'll definitely be watching. It's hell on earth, but it's exciting, so it's definitely up for it. It's definitely my show, but it's a collective front. So let's bring it on tonight and let's deep dive into football.
Exactly, Steph. And we got some killer topics for you guys tonight. Welcome into Hella as well, who's once again joining us for this absolute madness. Welcome in. I hope you've had a class week as well. But
we'll be talking about that draw last night as well.
We absolutely will indeed. But I think there's only one place to start. And there was some breaking news that came up towards the end of last week. And straight away, I'm going to give the floor to you, Reece, because I know you have some strong opinions about this.
I do.
There's a lot of fans that are divided, in particular with these topics. I think you can have a few contrasting opinions between myself, Reece, and Julio as well. Take it away.
Yeah, I want to address this tonight because
we absolutely do, Hella.
We certainly shall. I want to say I think Everton have been wrongly punished. And I mentioned this last night on the Devil's Advocate podcast, so I'm not going to say everything I said word for word, but pretty much what I'm going to say is I find it ironic that Everton have been punished this once so straight away, the biggest points deduction in Premier League history. Well, 10 points, I mean, it's insignificant compared to what's happened in the Championship for point deductions, but in the Premier League club, 10 points is still monster of a deduction. I mean, Everton have got the quality to stay up anyway, but 10-point deduction is a massive hit on football clubs, and it's quite interesting that other clubs are in the same conversation, like Man City and Chelsea, who will most likely never be punished or punished to that extent. But Everton, who cooperated with the Premier League, they cooperated with the FA, presented their books. Well, here we go. We have made errors with our finances, etc. And you just deduct them points. I'm sorry, but why would you deduct them straight away into the season? I would do it at the start of next season. Have them start on -10. I think it's very disgraceful, in my opinion, from the Premier League. I mean, Everton, we've attacked Everton a lot on this show for different reasons, but we've always attacked them with context. Like the amount of money that Mashiri, who's obviously in the thumbnail, he looks like Gollum in a nice suit. We've spoken about how badly they've cooked their books or how badly they've overspent since Ronald Koeman was appointed manager in 2014. The sheer disgrace of Everton, but to then punish them straight away? I'm sorry, but I find it inconsequential, and I think it's wrong to do it so aggressively and so fast. I would have punished them at the end of the season. I think it's really going to cause problems. And what if Everton are actually not guilty? You know what's ironic? What if Everton have actually got themselves into a position where it's stable, where, yes, we know there's so many ongoing issues, they're trying to sell up as well, but Everton could, frankly, at the end of the season, if they present evidence that they've actually... Well, I'm assuming they're going to challenge it this week, maybe. I mean, I think they've got until the end of this week. Yeah, they go for appeal. Yeah. If Everton are successful in their appeal, they are going to annihilate the PFA. And they will come for Chelsea and they will come for Man City. It's unlikely they'll succeed, but they'll come for them. I genuinely feel sorry for Everton in this case. I really do. I think they've been wrongly dealt with here.
Yeah, I can 100% see where the point of view is coming from on that. I'm just going to bring in Hella's comment as well. It's a disgrace. Go after the little man. The whole setup is corrupt, and nothing convinced me otherwise at this stage. And
I
there
agree
is a
with that
lot to
sentiment
agree on
completely.
that.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
100%.
I mean, exactly at the end of the day. Well, my take on it, and looking back from the last 3 seasons, you can actually see where the PFA are coming from and the reason that Everton have been punished on it. But the thing that is really crucifying the Premier League in particular, and I'm not going to bring the Championship in as another example in the Football League, there is no blanket rules on what happens when you do something. So, for example,
I agree.
If the Premier League never broke away, and it was the Football League, so Division 1, Division 2, etc., etc., etc. By now, Manchester City, Chelsea, Everton, I think Wolves would have had it as well, all would have had some sort of punishment, and it would have been to the extent that they would have breached it. Man City would have had a horrific points deduction. At Everton, they probably would have just hit it, but it would have only been about 4 points, because we've seen it with Birmingham City before, where it was a very limited points deduction. So I don't know where they've got 10 points from, which they just plucked out of a hat. Because the absolute
I think they've just chose it. I think they've just chose 10 points, thinking let's make an example of them. But I'm like, you've not made an example. You've embarrassed a club that's got a rich history in English football. I mean, I can't stand any club. I can't stand any club from Merseyside. But I think it's very hasty. I think it's very stupid, and I also find it quite interesting as well because it takes months to prepare these sort of cases. How can they do it so fast? Like, it makes no sense. You can't go from 0 to 120 and fight and deduct 10 points within an instantaneous circumstance. You've got to build a case on Everton. You can't just deduct them points.
Exactly.
I mean, look at Hearts up here. 4 or 5 years back, Hearts were fucked with finances. It was the season that Hearts and Hibs got relegated at the same time when Rangers were making their way into the Championship. Hearts started that league on minus 18 points. Like, not just a points deduction, like minus 18 points. That was 3 points worse than what Juventus were on in Serie B. And they still finished, 10, 15 points behind Hibs. They still caught them near enough. But they got relegated. But I'm like, they built that case over time over Hearts because Hearts were financially fucked. But that's a case of where you've done it right. With Everton, that's far too fast. And Hella's comment about the little man. Everton's history is significant, but I agree by referring to him in this case as the little man, because compared to City and Chelsea, I'm not saying Everton's history is tame compared to theirs, but compared to City and Chelsea, their financial might isn't close. So it's the little man in that sense is completely spot on. They're the little man for financial might.
Yeah, absolutely well said on that. I mean, at the end of the day, like, another thing that I was going to get to, this is only the third time in Premier League history that a points deduction has actually happened since '92. One of them was because Middlesbrough didn't fulfill a fixture. Absolutely correct, they got a points deduction. Portsmouth in 2010 got it for going into administration. Obviously, anytime you go into administration, you should get a points deduction. That's completely fair. The fact we only got 9 points, though, was actually quite lenient because in the Championship, I believe it's 12 points. So there's already an inconsistency there, and the Premier League a massive disadvantage.
Do you want to know who else nearly got a points deduction in the Premier League?
Go for it.
Man United and Arsenal.
I do remember.
Late 90s. Literally, during the double season and the treble season, both clubs nearly got deducted points. Now think about how big points deductions would have affected Arsenal and Man United in back-to-back seasons. Man United would have won the league in 97-98, and Arsenal, funnily enough, would have been champions in the treble season.
They would have been.
Which is absolute ironic. But,
I mean, in hindsight on it, it's just crazy.
Yeah, but luckily they went through it and they proved the actual fact is neither club were guilty, but they nearly got points deducted for false evidence. But in this case, Everton have been falsified.
They have.
I genuinely feel sorry for them. I really do. I think there's like, see if it was Liverpool, I would still laugh. Like, I would still laugh and all that, rightfully so. But if there's no case against a club to take points off, you can't take points against them. You just can't.
Exactly. And another thing that I'd like to get at as well is, I mean, there's loads of different ways that we can look at the reasoning that they have decided on the 10 points, but why haven't they gone for like a transfer embargo or something? If you're going to punish them for something that they've been doing, e.g. overspending in the last 3 seasons, especially under that team under Frank Lampard, Angelotti, etc., why aren't you giving them a
decent side?
Exactly. Why aren't you giving them an initial warning with a transfer embargo?
I think
we see it all the time in the Championship.
I think they've got the fear about what clubs can spend. So that, like, I think the big example of why you can't force an embargo is look at what Chelsea did, literally leading up to that transfer ban they got when Lampard got in. They knew what was coming, so they went, as soon as this transfer ban's over, we're just going to smash the transfer market, and we're going to spend, and they did. They spent what, 200 million in an instant. But also, I think another example is Barcelona. I think Barcelona are another example where they can do so much, and they can use like those like leverage tools they've got to make moves and consistently make moves, and it's effective for them. The financial might of some clubs, it's just, you can't stop them. Like, look at Man United. Man United are well over £1.5 billion in debt, and they still have a big, massive spending power. They still have a big, massive financial might. But ironically enough, Man United got fined through FFP not that long ago.
They did.
How are we guilty? I mean, we're a publicly licensed club.
I mean, technically, with that as well, if the Premier League were going to be applying the same rules across the board, then surely the likes of you guys, Manchester United, would have had a points deduction or transfer embargo by now. Where is the consistency in these rules?
I'm not sure where there is. Obviously, that's indirectly, that is me saying that United should have been punished. But in actual fact, I'm saying that there should have been a look in certain circumstances. Man City are lucky they're not a publicly licensed trade club. Yeah. So, like, we can't hide our books. Like, we're on the stock market. We can't hide. So no matter what we spend, the good thing for Man United, and this is an effect on Man United, is we are in so much debt, which is ridiculously bad management over the years by the owners. We are in so much debt, but we also make more than half of our debt, like that 1.5 billion. When you look at our annual revenue, we're about half that in annual revenue. We make £750 million a year in revenue, and that's legitimate. And that is on the stock exchange. It's part of like the agreement of the club. When they're on the market, you've got to announce your revenue. In that sense, you've got to announce your annual income. Mm-hmm. United done that, and effectively as well, it means that you can't hide. Like, you can't run from fiscal evidence. It catches up to you if you try to hide. So they won't get punished in that way, because you'll still get punished like with fines, etc. Chelsea, I don't think they're on the stock exchange. I think Man United are just the only licensed club. Yeah,
I think so. But another thing I'd like to add as well is that another thing we've seen punished a lot in the Football League is teams not publishing their accounts on time or not publishing them at all. Because a condition of membership that I believe, if you're a part of the EFL, you have to publish your accounts to them. Otherwise, you're automatically locked into a transfer embargo. Cardiff City has happened to so many times.
Yeah.
Because the refusal to, because at the end of the day, we would have just been like, oh, look, here's our overspending. Here's how much debt we're in. But apart from that, before we get on to anything else, welcome into the absolute legend, the creator, and in fact,
and Julio.
That atmosphere last night, absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, it was.
He'll actually be here soon.
Absolutely. Doug, I know you've got the wee man, but you're welcome to come on and discuss this as well from a different perspective, because I think we all need to have this sort of discussion. You're more than welcome, as always, mate. The link's in the group chat. You're more than welcome to bring your opinion to this. What I will say as well, and this is another thing as well, is it's quite ironic that the Premier League and the FA are quick to action on attacking these clubs, but they're not quick to save them. And I use Bury as an example.
I completely agree. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Luton, Bury, Reading is the biggest example at the moment as well. Macclesfield, another one that folded.
I feel sorry for their women's team, Reading. I feel sorry for the women's team that they've now gone from, they're not even professional anymore because they can't afford it. They're now going to what, semi-professional, something like that. I think that's a damn shame. These women have played professional for so many years, and now they've been shut down to semi-pro unless they go play somewhere else.
Which they obviously have to.
That's disgusting. That is absolutely disgusting.
And the most important thing about it as well, and this is going back to the protection of the clubs, why is the FA, why is the Premier League, why is the EFL, in particular the EFL you can add into on this as well, because we've seen it so many times, why aren't they doing more? I know the government is trying to bring in more legislation to protect all these clubs, more of the fan survey, and may I add, Cardiff City did one the other day.
Can I just interrupt 1 second?
Yeah,
England are 1-0 down to a penalty.
It's coming home, baby. That's what we love to see. 1-0 to North Macedonia there. Absolutely.
Can I just say, for all the slander the Italians get for North Macedonia, this is your turn.
Oh, it's so overdue. So overdue. But yeah, aside from that as well, Everton going to obviously being the first one in 13 years. Are we going to see any more coming up? Because as far as I'm concerned, aside from what you could say the top 7 now, if you include Newcastle in it, this sort of level of elitism is just going to push it further. And then, say, for example, if we have a club who just completely mismanages its finances or a takeover from here or there, are we going to see it happen again? Because in my opinion, very well could.
I'll be honest, I don't know.
But Doug has a question here. Because I think they will.
This is what comes back to what I said earlier on about Everton, where they potentially have a case. If Leicester City, Burnley and Leeds were to just go and sue Everton now, then there is an axe to grind. Because if Everton actually are proven to be innocent from their appeal, then you've just wasted time to try and sue a club that can actually counter-sue and take money off you. I think if they fail their appeal, then I think they've got a grounds. I completely agree with that. But if anything, that doesn't stop Leicester, that doesn't stop Burnley, and that doesn't stop Leeds being shit, though. Like, that doesn't stop them having their own problems that contribute to their own downfall. Everton,
yeah, exactly. I think in this scenario,
even for Everton, all their lack of spending, all their shit over the past couple of years, those clubs were also equally worse than them and still spent money and made their own failures. So if anything, like, they can go for it, but it would be stupid. It would genuinely be stupid.
And this is another thing I will take into it. If you ask I've spoken to a lot of Leicester fans about this and the reason that they got relegated last season. Not one of them said it was due to Everton's overspending or breach of FFP. All of them said it was due to Brendan Rodgers taking too long to be sacked. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
If their fans don't think it, then as far as I'm concerned, all of these clubs are just gunning for getting some extra revenue out of Everton's pocket. And I think, just to answer Doug's question, I think it goes back for the last 3 seasons where I believe in the law, the Premier League's rules, and it's similar to what they have in the Championship. If you overspend consecutively 3 seasons in a row or fall under 100 million under what you should be getting on 3 seasons in a row, then they can investigate you, which is the reason that Everton have. Hence why this points deduction has come around.
Yeah, it's 100 million over 3 years. I just don't see any success coming from it. Doug's also mentioned Southampton.
Good point.
Southampton have made their own bloody mistakes through their own stupid owners that are rich. So they equally, like I said, it's an axe to grind.
Yeah.
It's not going to get them anywhere. Like it's not going to get them anywhere. And the ironic thing is though, if you want to go after Everton, you better hope you win, because I guarantee if they were to fail, Everton are coming after every single one of those those 3 or 4 if they try it. There's no way they'll let themselves get humiliated from any other club after what the Premier League's just done to them. Not a
I
chance.
completely agree. And not only that as well, the ramifications for those clubs are going to be even greater. Pretty much, if Everton win the appeal, then Southampton, Leicester, not so much Southampton, ignore me, Burnley, Leicester in particular, they are going to be sprinting because they know they are not going to win if they get countersued.
Yep.
Absolutely
Another thing as well, I want to say, and I think some people need to remember this, and this is very important. Do not think for a second this is going to lead to City getting charged.
Absolutely
successfully. Because City will not get punished. Ever.
The thing is, I said this, I believe it was during lockdown as well on one of these shows.
Yep.
As soon as that Champions League ban got lifted, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that Man City will ever be punished. Because we all thought that UEFA were taking a strong stance on them. In come the lawyers, in comes UEFA being UEFA, and there you go.
There's also lawyers that have got very strong influence and are the top of their profession.
Yes.
Like they're paid big money because they're the absolute best. They're the best for the reason. They know exactly what they're doing. They won't influence you. They don't need to. The irony is, though, is the lawyers that Man City employ, they get paid, what, $250,000 or something?
Yeah, something ridiculous like that.
They have... I don't think they're bribing UEFA. Because if they were bribing UEFA, it would have been leaked by now. Like, it would have been leaked. Like, bribes get leaked a lot across companies. Like, they can't hide from it. I think you're going to see the sense of City are guilty. It's a different way that they get caught. I don't know if they will. But Doug's talking about Chelsea and Roman Abramovich. Definitely, there were some issues there.
There was, because also the UK government stepped in as well. During the... because didn't they put an enforced transfer embargo on them as well?
Yeah, they had free...
forcibly sold the club.
They had free transfer windows plus sell the club. Literally within far apart. That was still during that era. But in terms of Todd Bowley, I think the guy's mental when it comes to spending money. But I'm actually going to give Todd Bowley a bit of praise here, which I didn't think I'd ever do. Todd Bowley actually came out and presented all this evidence saying, this is before our regime. This has got nothing to do with us. Yes, it was the club, but it's the previous ownership. We're trying to resolve these issues. The fact that he's actually coming out to do that is very interesting. I never thought I would see that. I would have thought, we'll just try and alleviate the pressure off us. But I think he's came out and he said, no, we have to do this by the book. We have to do this legitimately. I think he wants to prove he wants to be a good owner. It's can he maintain the fact he wants to be a good owner? I don't know. And
it's also about the decision making as well, because so far, I know Chelsea claim to be in this sort of transition period, but with the amount of money spent, boy, it's getting a bit risky.
If you're in a transition period, you transition smartly through business. They're not in a transition period. They've gone from transition straight to completion without actually having any signs of change. Like Chelsea have done like an anti-transitional phase. It's quite weird, but Chelsea are definitely guilty from the Abramovich era. Todd Bowley is trying to resolve that by presenting the books, trying to present it as the old regime, trying to change things. He is guilty about the fact they've done the way they've extended out contracts through annuitization, which is a genuinely smart financial method. They've done that. That'll catch up to them eventually. But City, on the other hand, I just never see them getting any form of punishment. I don't see it.
I can't see it at the moment either, but to round it off anyway, just before, well, what we'll do is when Julio comes in, we'll jump straight back onto the topic. But long story short, for me, the only solution that I can see, I know Everton will appeal. I don't think it's going to be successful, unfortunately, just with what I've read around it, and also the fact that it was those 3 seasons as well. But the Premier League has to follow in line with what the EFL Championship and the whole of the EFL is doing, in particular with how stringent and how in line each of the punishments are. So if you don't do this, you do this. If you don't do this, you get this, etc., etc. I think that is the only way of solving it. Otherwise, you're just going to have these random laws, and as in Everton's case, which is absolutely shocking, 10 points just pulled out of a hat. That's my thought in anyway.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
But aside from that, moving swiftly onwards, I'm going to start with Scotland. First off, 3-3 against Norway last night. In my opinion, very, very unlucky. And I was impressed with the way that Scotland handled and played in that manner. And boy, am I excited to see you guys in Germany next year.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a good game. To a degree, I thought the draw was deserved. I think large spells of the game, Norway were probably the better side. I'm still trying to figure out why we've all of a sudden switched to a 4-3-3. I mean, I don't know why we're doing this. We've never theoretically played this system. It's different. I mean, it's forward thinking. I quite like that from the manager, but why now? Like, why would you experiment that now? Like, why not experiment during like the friendlies that'll happen before the Euros? Like, it makes sense to experiment then. Not even though we've already qualified, you still want to end the tournament in the best way. We went 5 games winless because of that. Like, we haven't won a game in 5 matches because of this. I think it's very dumbfounded. But performance-wise, it was very good to see. I'm just eager to see. 1 second.
No problem. Yeah, just looking at that as well, Doug. I gotta be honest, I completely agree with that comment. Jacob Brown, I do not rate at all, to be honest. And yeah, that Stuart Armstrong goal was just typical. And fair play, kept battling the whole game. Steve Clark, which we've seen so many times before, really grinding out the results. I mean, as Hella says, Norway really do turn up when it doesn't matter. And in this game, where Norway could have pushed for it, gone out on a high, it unfortunately didn't happen. But you can see the signs of where in the future you guys are going to get to an international tournament. Odegaard, Erling Haaland, of course, is another option there as well, who obviously didn't play last night. You can see that the foundations there are finally being laid. And yes, that you guys aren't qualifying for tournaments now, but you guys are going to. You guys are going to in the tournaments coming up. In particular, I think US 2026 is going to be an important one, and I think one that Haaland's going to push you guys to as well. Had our best match with our so-called stars out. We got a lot of first-timers in our squad, and they're eager to show what they can do, and that's another reason as well. Backing up, it's got to be integrated properly, and also it's got to be gelled together, in my opinion, as well. But yeah. Aside from that, nice little Elanusi goal as well to bring the comeback. So fair play to him. Ostergaard's funny own goal as well. And yeah, ultimately, Scotland finishing in that second position right there. Just ignore me hibernating it out until, of course, Reece comes back. But I'm going to give this one to you, Doug, as well, if you're still in the comments tonight. What is your expectations moving into Germany? Is it to get out of the group? Is it to have a nice time, be happy that you're there? Or is it going to be one where Steve Clarke can really show what this Scotland squad is about and how it can be pushed forward into the future, in particular with a massive drought that you guys had between all those major tournaments as well, which really was poor. In my eyes, was poor as well, considering how the rest of the home nations have been consistently getting into the in particular since the 2010s, consistently getting into those tournaments. And we will be getting onto Wales very shortly, aside from that. We will be getting onto Wales very shortly, and we'll be doing it in a bit. Just see what Doug's saying. Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, you could have another group of death. You could have no group is easy in the Euros. No group is easy in the World Cup. It's pretty much what you get and how you approach it. But if you get the group of death, then yikes. I don't think I'll have to Scotland this time around because I believe you guys are going to be in a good seed as well. So you should be relatively okay to get out of the group. And the fact that it is the Euros as well. People forget. That's true. I mean, at the end of the day, Andy Robertson, one of the best left backs, arguably one of the best left backs in the Premier League, and what you could say the world as well, all out injured. When these key players coming back into the side, Che Adams, another example, Kieran Tierney, who can be played on the other side as well, Angus Gunn, who I really rate as a goalkeeper. When all these players get embedded in that squad, it's really, really strong. And yeah, one that is in another major tournament is going to be absolutely superb. And there he is. Julio is going to be joining us in 5 minutes. Don't worry, I'm hibernating it out, sir. Hibernating out for the Everton discussion and also for the Wales chat as well, which I know you're going to want to hear about that. Oh, if I can point correctly, somewhere there. That horrific man there after that shocking Armenia performance. Oh my God, it was terrible. But in fact, you know what? Actually saying that, is there anything else you'd like to add about Scotland, Reece? I have been rambling for a little bit there.
I think for performance-wise, we certainly have to change up a little bit. I think it's quite obvious when we don't have certain players in the team, we really do look poor. I do agree with the Xander Clarke comment. I mean, kind of glad that I was wrong about him in that sense. I prefer Angus Gunn with McCrory as his backup. But I do slightly disagree with the Jacob Brown comment. Like, purely because, like...
I don't rate him, to be honest.
I don't particularly rate him as such, but he's barely been in this sort of squad to really do anything. But when I look at strikers, I don't even want Che Adams in our squad anymore. Like, I don't want anyone like that either, but I think there's some positives or some negatives to the squad, but the system certainly feels weird. I mean, it fits Robertson properly that he's a natural left back, and it fits Hickey as a right back and all that. I think we should be playing I wouldn't mind playing a 4-3-3, but we haven't got any wingers. We don't have any natural wingers there yet. I mean, if the rumours about Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon playing for Scotland, then I'm all for a 4-3-3. They're two natural wingers. But I think for us right now, I don't think it's right. If we're going to play a midfield three with a back four, we should be playing with 2 10s behind a striker at least. I think that does work for Scotland, but a 4-3-3 at the moment really isn't the best circumstance. I'd say maybe a 4-3-2-1 or something maybe is our best luck. As for the draw, I don't care who we get. We'll have fun.
Yeah, you will. I mean, not only that as well, now you've got this qualification nice and early. You can use the friendlies in March, etc., etc. Even now, I'm sure Steve Clark did against Norway. You've got this time to experiment and find what's best for you guys. But
Yeah,
going
I
from
just think
what
it's too quick.
could be a good reason as well. But I have to say, going from one good international manager of a home nation to one that's on Managerwatch, Mr. Rob Page.
Yeah.
Oh my God, where do I start against that Armenia game? Tactically, at the back once again, and it's been the hindrance of us for years, and I've been saying it for years as well. We are all over the place at the back and do not know how to command a defence. It was just woeful. Armenia whipped us in the stats. If they were clinical, they could have easily beaten us 5-1. I mean, that just goes to show that they had a game plan, they stuck to it and overloaded us. Both played exactly the same system. Metham getting another yellow card, so he's banned for the next one. Both of our midfielders getting booked as well for being reckless. Connor Roberts, by far, was one of the worst international performers in that game that I have ever seen in my life. Could not pass a ball to help his life. Could not cross a ball either. He was woeful. I'd even say at this point, give Niall Huggins an opportunity because he was just shocking. And not only that, for the last couple of international breaks now, he's not been great either. Nico Williams, I feel extremely sorry for him. He's not playing in his natural position. He's playing as a left back when he's clearly not. I mean, that doesn't help us at all. Ben Davis having to play at centre back as well because of what you could say limited opportunities there. Jay De Silva's could be another one that you could also use as a wing back. The fact, this is another thing that absolutely drives me mental as well. The fact that you have Kiefer Moore at top and you play the ball into his feet and try and play it as sort of a fast-paced striker, yet when you bring Brennan Johnson on, you try and lob it over and go extremely direct. Like, how can you be that tactically deluded? That's the thing I want to know. Surely you would do it the opposite way around. Any sane human and any man can see that. That is absolutely shocking. But
it is.
Tomorrow night, playing Turkey at home, I am absolutely dreading it. I know we have a phenomenal record at Cardiff City Stadium, but if we're not careful, and if we get off the wrong foot and Turkey score straight away, it's gonna get toxic in there. And you're talking we're slowly declining back to the grim Millennium Stadium days, where we weren't qualifying for tournaments. We were 100 and something in the world with a really good squad, and we're just dipping back into it. And I know that some other fans and some neutrals as well will say Wales are in this transition period. I don't buy into that at all. No offense to them, and I respect their opinion on it. I think that's complete nonsense, mainly because if you compare our squads between now and 10 years ago, take Gareth Bale out of the equation because he's an absolute superstar and he's by far the greatest player that Wales and possibly Britain has ever seen. I genuinely don't understand how this squad is worse than what we had during those Millennium Stadium days, because it is so much better. And our fun has already ended, Reece.
Yeah, Jack Grealish has scored.
Absolutely gutted. Come on, North Macedonia, let's get it back. But yeah, I'm just at my wit's end with it now with Rob Page. Only thing that I don't know, I'll go back to it very quickly, but yeah, that Jack Grealish getting another goal on the national stage.
Yeah, it's what he does. It's a decent goal, actually. I've just seen because there's a stream for it on Twitter, funnily enough, and I've just seen the goal. It's a nice pass, funnily enough, from Bukayo Saka.
Nice.
He's a good player, to be fair.
Yeah, he's quality. The fact that at such a young age as well, he's come into this England side and been this consistent and this lethal as well is just phenomenal.
Yeah, 100%.
But going back to Mr. Page.
Yeah.
I've been consistent since this. Oh, excellent. It's gone to VAR. It's gone to VAR.
It'll get given.
It will. But please rule it out. But
it'll
anyway.
It'll be given. It'll be given.
Yeah, well,
There's
you
the
watch.
the penalty situation though is quite interesting because there's a VAR check for offside, but really it's been that long. The last time England came from behind to win a game at half time was at Euro 2016 against Wales.
And
Daniel
even then,
Sturridge
there were
goal
questions
stoppage
around
time.
that as well. But that's
Yeah.
an insane start.
7 years. That's mad. But they had 81% possession in the first half, England. And England's goal's been ruled out.
Yes.
VAR has defeated England. Like, wow.
Prepare for Twitter, or what you could say, X meltdown in 3, 2, 1. There we go. Everyone's going to be going nuts now across the water.
I mean, in all fairness, obviously, we have a few friends that are English and all that. I mean, but like,
Yeah, absolutely.
like good ones, obviously, for them lot. Like the negative ones, fuck you, but for the good ones, it's a shame.
Mhm.
But in retrospect, though, people mugged off Italy for failing to beat North Macedonia. North Macedonia are an absolute mental side, but they beat them because they worked hard. They're doing the exact same thing England. They work hard. It's still 0-0. Italy, Ukraine, by the way. Like, that's another big game. Ukraine have got the issue as well, that Italy have the head-to-head record. I still think Italy are going through anyway. But they did make a change at half-time. They took off Raspadori for Scamacca.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
Very bold.
in what reality could we see it where Italy fails to qualify for, what is it, nearly 3 major tournaments now?
Yeah.
Within
I don't
so
think
many
they're...
years?
I don't think Italy will fail to qualify for the Euros. I think they'll still go.
Surely the holders have got to be in it.
Yeah, they'll be there.
Surely.
If they aren't able to defend their title, though, that is mad.
Absolutely well said. But going back to Mr. Page, I said I've been consistent from the top. If we don't qualify for this tournament, then he goes. And in fact, if we don't get into the playoffs now, in particular with the way that we've been playing, Mr. Mooney needs to go for it and just sack him, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
I know that the managerial options are very restricted, and we could be taking a bit of a gamble here. But realistically, with what we have seen this qualifying campaign, and I'm going to welcome this man in to discuss it even further. Welcome in, sir.
Good evening.
I think there's a million better options for it. Yeah, aside from that, we'll get back to that in a minute. Mr. Puglioleschi, how are you, sir?
Thank you for being so patient. I really appreciate you guys waiting for me like this. Unfortunately, I've missed the last 5 minutes. What have I missed?
England's goal was ruled offside for VAR.
Yeah, but no one cares about England. Not unless
You
it's
do.
tournament football, let's be honest. No, I don't watch any of the international friendlies because they're boring. Like
This is
England,
an international friendly, you dumb nut.
what is it? Is it a qualifier?
It is a qualifier.
It is,
Of
yeah.
a group
It's-
that England have got in the bag and they're going to qualify. England
it's
in
the last one,
qualifiers.
yes. It's the last one,
does-
yeah.
It means nothing to me. England in qualifying. Do you remember, was it for Euro 2016? They won 10 out of 10 qualifiers and they got knocked out by Iceland. England in qualifying doesn't mean anything. With all due
Correct.
respect, North Macedonia and other countries in there, no disrespect to them, England aren't being tested. The Italy side they faced isn't the Italy of old, nor is it Spalletti's final image of what Italy is going to be. Spalletti's cooking with Italy,
Mhm.
but with all due respect, it's not there yet. So England haven't
Yep.
really had any tests. So I only
Correct.
focus on England's achievements because we always, apart from Steve McLaren, England always qualify for tournaments. It's
And
what
in
you do on
addition,
the big
England
occasion.
also get what you could describe in quotation marks as easy groups.
Exactly.
every
They
time.
always get easy groups.
They
I
always
mean,
get San
It
Marino.
could be a lot worse. It could be a whole lot worse. You could you could be Cuba. They got battered 8-0 by Russia tonight.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
And that's like that squad in general is insane. I mean, 66% possession and 29 shots. None of the Cuban shots were on target.
But no one's sitting here calling Russia world beaters, are they?
No one ever will. They've not been
No.
good since 2008.
And in
Exactly.
addition to that as well, they're also banned from the qualifiers.
The fact of the matter is,
Which is a shame.
I mean, I don't really want to talk about England, but England in
still stand
qualifying
by
doesn't
on
really
that.
spell anything.
I still stand by on that comment a couple of years ago about Russia banning the players from competing. I think it's still wrong. You can't make it's a political. This is the problem when they try to keep politics out of football, but then you ban the Russian players from playing football. Then internationally, it's still wrong. They should
It's
be allowed to
ridiculous.
compete. They should be allowed to compete.
Because it's got nothing to do with them to an extent.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Whereas they still allow Ukraine happily to play football. Political statement. I'm sorry, but
What else have I missed?
we haven't even mentioned it yet because we don't have to. But are Israel still playing in Euros?
Yeah.
So why are Russia not allowed to play?
It's pick and
Make
choose.
that make sense.
It's pick and choose.
Yep. But
Have we
what I will
discussed
say, though,
Wales?
about- they
We
are.
were on the topic.
We were, and hell is exactly right. Israel are still playing. They did declare war. Yeah, they
Hmm.
did. Russia didn't declare war. Russia just walked in and then left after getting ripped apart. But in terms of Wales and Rob Page, I agree. Like, he needs to go. He's not the only manager from around these areas that needs to be removed from their position. And I don't mean Gareth Southgate. I don't particularly think he is good. I think he'll go after.
He'll go after the Euros.
I think he will. Yeah.
No matter
I
what
think-
happens.
I think Stephen Kenny has to go.
Stephen
From
Kenny
Ireland.
is an
100%.
absolutely shocking manager.
How
In
he's
fact,
not
out of-
playing those amazing young players in that squad makes no sense. I don't understand it.
In fact, let's get this. Let's get the Island squad up, and we'll go back to obviously. I'll touch on my opinions about that absolutely shocking Wales side in a bit.
Can we just can I just take this moment whilst you're loading up?
Yeah, sure.
Talk about Albania qualifying
Go
for
for it.
Germany.
And then get eliminated in the groups.
Well, if we win our next game, I believe it's tomorrow, we get into pot 1. So we avoid some of the big hitters. And what Silvino is cooking with this Albanian team
You
now.
can still get us, mate. Just remember that.
Yeah, I know. That would be so funny. But I think Albania don't have enough tournament experience, which is if anything's going to let them down, that will be it in the summer.
Absolutely.
But regardless, of course, I'm going to celebrate the fact that Silvino's qualified us. Him and
course.
Zabaleta right in the celebration, especially Silvino himself. I have forgiven him for playing for City and Arsenal and being part of that Barcelona team that beat United in Rome in 2009.
Silvino wasn't in that side.
He was.
I don't think he played in the 09 final, but he played 06.
I think he did.
I don't know if
actually.
he was still there at the time, but I know he played in the 06 final against Arsenal.
I could be
I'm not
wrong.
sure
Let
if
me
he was
double
still
check.
there.
He did. He played left back that day
I don't remember
against
seeing
United
him
in the
play.
final.
It was ironic. I don't remember seeing him play in the final.
Yeah, he played in a makeshift back four of Puyol, Torre, Piqué, and himself, Silvino.
The only reason I don't, you know what's ironic? He's got the same birthday as me. That's another shitty player I share a birthday with. I share a birthday with Eric Bailly.
Jesus Christ. Two completely different, players.
Crap.
In
No,
general.
I knew he played in the 06 final, but I didn't realise he played in the 09 final. That's because we barely attacked on his left-hand side.
Yeah.
Because he was a
I think
decent defender.
I think in the build-up to their first goal, I think he headed a long ball downfield from United. I think he headed it back or something. I can't remember. But yeah, I think it's really good. Obviously, I mean, Silvino's stock is high. It wouldn't surprise me if he leaves for a better job in the next year. Now, since we're on the theme of Managerwatch, but I'm just so happy with what's happened there, and I look forward to next summer. Of course, I do. Of course, I'm going to be I got giddy for the first 5 minutes of that we qualified, but now it's like, right, okay, let's see what happens in the group. Because luck of the draw, we finished top, maybe. But bad luck of the draw, we finished third. You know, and I think that even though it's a different team to what we had in France 2016, I'm looking forward to obviously Germany next summer, but it's going to be, because there are some big hitters that aren't in pot one. So it will be very interesting to see who we get. It was a very heart and mouth game though. We went 1-0 up and we didn't seal the game. You know, we didn't finish off. There was a point where I think we were on the counter and we only had one guy up there and not enough people were making runs to support him. So I don't know. I mean, fair play. Silvino got the job done, but it could have easily gone wrong. And these are the kind of criticisms I make of Southgate in finals and other big games. So, you know, it's almost like you got to have consistency in your argument, but he got the job done. We're going to Germany. Remains to be seen whether we'll be pot one or not. But
I think he's will be pot two.
It'll be interesting. I mean, our next game I think is Faroe Islands. I could be wrong on that one. So
that's just going to be destruction for you guys.
It depends on scoreline for you to get pot one, though, doesn't it? Like you've got to score a certain amount of goals, though. I think you don't just need to win; you have to get a certain amount of goals. I think.
I can't remember because I haven't had given the table a good look this evening, but from the last I checked, I think whoever was around us dropped points, which I think meant we had to solidify. I need to double check the table.
Check right now for you. I'm doing it right now. You can slip your finger blasting. Right, let's see. Not that group. Albania. So you're on 14 points. Czech Republic are on 12. Poland on 11. Moldova and Faroe Islands 10 and 1 apiece.
No, I think the game is tonight, actually.
Yeah. So
the game is tonight, yeah.
Czech Republic, I think, are winning.
1-0 up at the moment against.
So they're 1-0 up. We're goalless at the minute. We're still top.
Moldova, 1-0 on that. Yeah. I still find it quite bizarre that they're going by Czechia now. But I don't remember that happening. I'm like, who the fuck invited Czechia? Albania right now are drawn 0-0 with Faroe Islands.
Yeah.
57 minutes gone. You have had less shots than the Faroe Islands, but yet all your shots have been on target. They've had none.
Do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if this is a not lose. Don't do anything to jeopardize this, because you know what football is like. We could be like, oh well, we're top, we're gonna do it, and then we bottle it.
England do actually now have an equaliser. A couple of minutes ago, Yannick Atanasov scored an own goal for.
Hella's comments right. We should be winning this. Absolutely. We have to win this, in my opinion, but I don't know, because I haven't got the game on, annoyingly, I can't see what he's trying to do. Because do you know what I mean? If I turned it on and saw us playing attacking football of some kind, then I'd be like, that's not possible. But given the stats that he's just read, I think he's just saying that let's not jeopardize this.
Some of these comments, I'm reading through the commentary through the Sky Sports app, right? Listen to this. This is just from the 50. Yeah, we'll go with the goal where it got ruled out, right? England goal ruled out after a lengthy VAR check. Grealish is adjudged to be offside. Okay, no problem. So I'll move to the next big talking point. 58 minute. Here comes Kane. Sam Blitz's comment was, Southgate has seen enough of Ollie Watkins 12 minutes into the second half. Watkins touched the ball 11 times but missed 2 big chances early on. Then boom, a minute later, England are level. It looks like Kane scores with his first touch, heading home from Foden's in-swinging corner, but actually came off Atanasov and went in. That's just what England deserve. 60 minute, handball, England want a penalty. A ball into the box draws loud as a North Macedonia defender struggles to clear. But then you got Rob Dorset. Well, that's just crazy. Kane's first touch within a matter of seconds of coming on is 1-1. We've talked a lot about his importance to this side, and it's demonstrated fully here. If it's so important, why couldn't he score against France when it mattered most?
Exactly. I mean, there's a lot of the amount of hypocrisy and just arrogance with just some of those comments is obscene.
I'm glad I don't watch.
It's just laughable, honestly.
I don't pay attention to them for this exact reason. Just because they like to over dramatize. Even we beat them, for goodness sake.
Let's get that. That's the comment of the night.
Yeah.
To be fair, Scotland have got a beautiful history with the Faroe Islands. Not a good one.
I'm pretty sure they cost Ranieri his job with Greece in late 2014. Yeah.
The Faroe Islands are the ultimate shithousery merchants of just pure trolling football teams.
You know what the next friendly with Faroe Islands needs to be, don't you?
They need to do what I've said all along. They have to put the likes of Liechtenstein, San Marino,
Gibraltar,
the Faroes. They have to be in a separate qualifying stage where you're not dismissing them by not playing against the bigger nations, but they should only be playing the bigger nations in friendlies. Put the lower rated European ranked nations, etc., for qualifying in the same group and just let them compete, and they'll actually get confident in how to win matches. Because every time you see the Faroes or Gibraltar or San Marino, they're getting pumped. And not gonna lie, I feel sorry for them a little bit, but I feel why should I feel but I also feel like, why should I feel sorry for them when UEFA purposely do this to them all the time? I can't feel sorry for it because we already know what's coming, and I'm like, you don't try. But it's a complete how you doing, destruction, game over, and I'm like, I can't feel sorry for it as much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all I'd hope is that we just have a Faroe Islands. Where does that come from? Faroe Islands against Wales gets rid of Rob Page. Gosh, as you can tell, it's been a long day.
I will be there no matter what.
The irony is you'd probably beat them 3 or 4-0, and then he's going nowhere.
Oh, I know. It's just
and there'd be Welsh tears all over the timeline.
I am so not looking forward to tomorrow, but anyway, that's another by the by. Go back to our, of course.
We have to talk about the massive elephant in the room, though.
Yes.
What, Rob Page?
No, the fact that I nearly predicted an exact scoreline that nearly happened.
The France one?
Yeah. Also, I want to massively say that next weekend is Juventus versus Inter in Serie A.
Ooh.
Juventus women beat Inter women 5-0 last night in the league. Just thrown out there as well. They absolutely butchered them. But in terms of that international friendly, well, that international game, I should say, it wasn't a friendly. It was a fucking assault. France winning 14-0, lads, is just wrong.
It is. And another thing I'd like to give a shout out to is Lincoln Red Imps goalkeeper and the goalkeeper of the Gibraltar national team, Dale Colin. Main reason, match rating of 0.9, conceding 14 goals. What a performance.
I feel sorry for him that he's got that rating when he never stood a chance. He never stood a chance. I mean, the timings of these goals. I mean, some of them were
own goals as well, and just complete capitulation at the back. What was he able to do?
Yeah, let's go through it. I'm not even joking. I'm going to give you everything here. Possession, France, 73%. Shots, 39. 20 on target, 14 off target. Gibraltar, shots, 0. They had 4 times the passes. They had 635 passes. They won. How can France win 16 aerial duels against Gibraltar? But here we go. Here's another one, statistically as well. So, Ethan Santos, 3rd minute, own goal. Marcus Thuram, 4th minute, goal. Warren Zaire-Emery, baller, 16th minute, goal, 3-0.
He's going to be a talent in the future. He was so impressive.
Oh, he was quality.
I know it's only against Gibraltar, but fair play.
I know exactly. Ethan Santos, red card, 2 minutes later. Kylian Mbappe, the first of his hat trick, 30th minute, penalty. Jonathan Klaus, 34th minute, goal. Kingsley Coman, the first of his goals, 36 minutes. Yusuf Fofana, 60 seconds later. Then we had second half. Kingsley Coman, his second goal. Then we get Kylian Mbappe, Dembele, 73rd minute. Then you get Dembele's goal. Then you get Mbappe's second goal. Then you get Mbappe's hat-trick. Then it's Giroud's 2-minute double. I'm sorry, but this evidences my point about what you can and can't expect. But I also don't get it as well, as France had already qualified by a big margin. They were already going to beat Gibraltar anyway. I predicted 15-0. Why did France have to go out with their best lineup? When you look at it, that is practically their best team. Why? What have you got to prove? Any other country putting their best team against Gibraltar and you're slapping them 14-0, really, you've got to ask yourself, if England, Italy, or even Germany did this, or even Spain, there would be big questions with France's praise.
Yeah, it's a bit.
I'm sorry, but
hypocritical in my eyes.
Why are you praising them for smashing them 14-0? I think it's incredible that's the score, but
I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at it as well, if England played the full strength, people would say that, especially if Gareth Southgate did it as well. And this is no me defending England, because everyone knows how much I despise them. And not only that as well, how much I never like to give praise to them or anything like that. But if the same happened to England, everyone would be going like, oh, why aren't you playing the young players? Why aren't you respecting Gibraltar? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Harry Kane only scored 3 goals. Why didn't he score 10?
Yeah.
There's your answer.
Or the flip side,
everything.
We get to a tournament, and in terms of omissions, Southgate turns around and goes, he was a good player, but I didn't know if I could trust him. But then you said, well, why didn't you start him in the Gibraltar games? You know what I mean? So either way, he couldn't win that. Couldn't win in that situation.
Either way, the double standards are just ridiculous.
Because in this sense, France don't need the partnership of Theo Hernandez and Kylian Mbappe to batter Gibraltar. They don't need Olivier Giroud, Ousmane Dembele, Kingsley Coman, Dayot Upamecano, Adrien Rabiot, Jonathan Klaus, Mike Maignan. They don't need them to play against bloody France. Like, I think it's insane that they took all these players just to absolutely batter them. I don't think they needed it. If anything, that just completely dampens the confidence of Gibraltar and their fans. Like, I think that sums up my point that they really need to have like their own qualifying federation for them within UEFA, because it's not right at all. Like, that is not right. Especially because nobody buys Gibraltar players as well, so they can't grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just mental. Absolutely. But yeah, moving back to where we were. Just going to very quickly.
A bit of Ireland for sure.
Yeah, Julio, take it away, because I know you got some strong opinions as well, especially on this. In my eyes, Stephen Ireland has been holding back. Not Stephen Ireland. What am I on about?
Stephen Kenny.
Stephen Kenny. Yeah, Stephen Kenny, the right Stephen. I mean, he has been holding back this Ireland team for years. 3 shots and 1 on target the whole game, getting absolutely slaughtered to the stake by the Netherlands. That's shocking.
And they didn't even play well either.
I know. Where do we start, Julio?
Do you know what? I think it's becoming a common theme. Every international break, we're saying the same things. So I'm just gonna say what I've said before, where it is time for a change. He's not. When you're a manager with a golden generation as such, especially of the Irish players coming through, you need the right man to bring them through and to utilize them properly. And I don't think, results aside, he's not the man. And add the results into it, it's not. It's been a poor campaign. You'd have expected Ireland to do so much better than they have. So I know that's a low bar, given how they've actually performed, but yeah, I think it's time to go. Everyone's been calling for it for a long time now, and
You're right.
it is time they bring someone in. Who? I don't know. Do they go with someone with experience? Do they go someone more local to them? Do they go completely somewhere completely different, like with fresh ideas? Someone who's got a sort of like has the credentials to manage a squad of younger players and bring them into this kind of thing? Who do they go for, gents? What do you reckon they should look into?
It's a difficult one because Stephen Kenny came, of course, from the Irish League, and his credentials weren't even great going into the job.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of criticism for the FAI as well. But the one thing
Cheap
I will
option.
say, he was massively the cheap option as a start. And they actually did end up breaking the cycle between your Martin O'Neills, your Mick McCarthy's in a million spells, which, if you appoint him now, that's going to be a disaster zone for the young players. Roy Keane, I don't think is the correct option either. He was the assistant under Martin O'Neill. I do think Roy Keane is limited to an assistant manager role, and that's where he does probably the best as well. But let's have a look at the odds for the next Ireland manager anyway.
I've seen a lot of Ireland fans saying Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I'm like, he ain't gonna take your job.
That's absolute lunacy for me. Another one that's being touted is Neil Lennon. That's comedy.
I really want to see that because I hate the guy.
What about Lee Carsley? Another one.
I mean, going from the England under 21 job to Ireland would be an interesting step up. I think it would actually. I think it would give him a chance to get a foot in the door to try the international scene himself.
I mean, it's the right way to start it with as well. And the fact, I know he's an under 21 manager at England, but he's the right man for this Ireland squad because that's
the transition wouldn't be so much of a transition. It wouldn't be so much of a transition. Sure, a different setup maybe, but you're going from a team of young players you got to manage and help mature and stuff.
Straight into a similar setup.
Yeah, exactly. So it would be a very interesting one.
If he doesn't get that job anyway, he's getting the England job after Southgate. It'll be him.
I don't think that would be the right idea. Not to disrespect the guy, but I just think you need someone a bit more proven. Because with this England team, I think the next step is you're challenging, you get granted easy draws, but you get into semi-finals and finals, or you're losing to the tougher teams. If you're going to look at France in the World Cup last year. So I think if you're going to do that, you bring in someone who can take them to that next level. Not can he keep them this? Can he maintain it, or it could easily go down. That's no disrespect to Carsley. He might actually come in and be better than Southgate, which I mean, with this group of players, might not be so difficult. But I just think that England are looking at something different right now. Whereas, what Ireland are looking for with Carsley would be a very interesting choice, and I think would arguably be the perfect fit because you've got a guy coming in. He's already got credentials with younger players, maybe a new guy, fresh ideas. So it would be an interesting one.
It is 2-0 Czech Republic and it's 2-0 Northern Ireland.
Wow.
They are schooling Denmark. And Denmark have absolutely blitzed them in possession as well.
That's interesting, that.
Albania, I think, provided they don't lose. God, please, 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 please,
Czech Republic are also playing up against 10 men because Moldova got a man straight red.
But Albania, I think, go through on the head-to-head.
Unless
first place.
Faroes, unless the Faroes score, I think.
I don't usually get nervous, but I am starting to get a little bit shaky right now.
There is 15 minutes left in your match,
I know.
and there's less than 10 minutes for North Macedonia to get a draw against England at home. I actually think the right man for Ireland is, ironically, Chris Hughton. I think Chris Hughton, besides Lee Carsley, who I think is a smart move, I think Chris Hughton is the right move. Well-respected coach. He's got a good system, good setup. He's experienced in the game, understands Ireland quite well. I think he is the right guy for it, personally.
That's an interesting, slightly out there shout, but not too out there beyond the realms of possibility.
Because there's nobody else, unless they want Michael Beale.
For me, if they're going to go for the chief option again, going to ring off a name, actually, Stephen Bradley of Shamrock Rovers. A very hipster move, but if we're going to see them go in for another Stephen Kenny, then...
It's not entirely hipsterish, but... I mean, it's hipster in sense the cheap sense, but it's also... he is managing probably the best club in Ireland. Like, successfully, historic-wise, Shamrock Rovers. It would be a good step up to go from the best club to the main international job. I don't think he will, though.
Yeah,
Other updates as well.
Safe.
Finland are beating San Marino 2-0, and Slovenia Kazakhstan is 1-1. Benjamin Šeško scored from the penalty spot just before half-time. Then a couple minutes after second half, Ramazan Orazov equalised. All I'm going to say, with that team, they should be doing a whole lot better. Slovenia should have been. All Black is still powering and goal, and Šeško up front. But why would you put Šeško in a 4-4-2? You must be sniffing coke. Italy are still drawn 0-0 with Ukraine. I think that goes in their favour because they already had the head-to-head on Ukraine because they beat them in Italy. I think Italy will finish second. Right.
This has to be the mother of all hangovers for Albania, by the way.
Yeah. Who is next, gentlemen?
Oh, come on. You got to let me say my piece on Rob Page.
Yes, let him go for it. But the one thing, I'm gonna ask you this question as well. I'm just gonna very slide it in when I mentioned it earlier. A lot of people have been mentioning, a lot of neutrals, that Wales are in transition periods and to give them time. I don't think this is the case because technically, aside from Gareth Bale, take him out of it. Wales have a much stronger squad now than the dark days and Millennium Stadium days. Talking the 2010s when we were like 100 something in the
very
world.
low bar. It's a very low bar, but I do disagree with them saying it's transition. It's not, in my opinion.
Exactly.
I think you have a squad to compete. You just need the right man to come in. You just need the right man who's not going to put in pure underdog dinosaur tactics. You know what I mean? What we were saying, the crossing, like, it's a good job Rob Page wasn't part of like the manufacturing of crucifixes during Easter, because like not even Jesus is getting on the end of one of those crosses. Honestly, like, it was so bad. And if this doesn't signify that he needs to go, because all of these players that played for Wales over the weekend, right, they are all bottom half mid-table Premier League quality.
Yes.
Maybe apart from Ben Davies plays for Spurs, but that's not really telling. Do you know what I mean? That's just based on the status point. That's the only point I'll make. But then off the bench, you've got the Dan Jameses and the Brennan Johnsons of the world who are effective. You just need the right person to come in and play to their strengths. That's almost one of the number one things in coaching. Look at who you got, play to their strengths. And it doesn't appear so. You know, you had a front three of, when I say a front three, almost like two tens from the way I see Wilson and Brooks, you've almost got 2 10s, and then you've got Kiefer Moore up front. Kiefer Moore is a great striker to have, I think, and I think he is effective, but I just don't think...
he's not being used correctly, because I think, especially against Albania as well, he was not utilised at all, and he had absolutely no service. I mean, Connor Roberts was an absolute, what I like to describe as right back, an absolute disgrace, because of how just woeful he was. Like, I wouldn't even give him a 1 out of 10. Against playing Nico Williams.
He's playing in a wing back position, and you think he'd, because did he not play as a wing back at Swansea?
Ish.
You'd think he'd maybe settle in. Look, I put it down to the tactics and the formation. You know, I don't want to say that I'm part of this agenda-based bandwagon of sack Rob Page. I've made my opinions abundantly clear. Where how do you take the Northampton job after Chris Wilder, get sacked after 6 months, especially after a 5-0 defeat, where I believe he said something along the lines of, well, we weren't going to win anyway, or something ridiculous he said. I can't remember what exactly he said. I'll look it up in a moment. Then he ends up in the Wales setup, and then the whole gig scandal appears, and then they go, right, what are we going to do? Well, we'll let Rob Page hold the fort for a bit and see what happens there. And of course, the players aren't going to be horrible to him. So it's almost like the players almost put in a good word and he's got the job. You know, that's the crazy thing, because in any other job, in any other field, that doesn't happen to anyone. You don't
exactly. That could tell
badly
as
at a
well.
lower level and then end up at the top gig of Wales.
Absolutely says, and that's very telling as well. The reason I know it's a great thing to happen, and a lot of other countries should follow suit. But Aaron Ramsey, who's injured and not part of the squad, he's actually gone over to Albania and he's travelling with the squad, which is fantastic to see. But is that telling on where the leadership is of the hierarchy?
You're not
Because
wrong
in
there,
my
man.
eyes, that could signify that he has lost control of that dressing room.
Yeah. I know we're in tough periods, especially because I think Rob Page was in a tough period. I don't think it's as tough now as it was before. And I say that only because of the fact that it's been like so dire until the win in the last international break, where he's gone, hey, you know, we could do something here. We could potentially have the slightest chance. So he's not going to risk anything. So I think him having his sources of leadership in that dressing room, I think keeping them around, potentially maybe his way of going, I don't care whether they're listening to me or not, as long as they do it. So I'm not taking any chances. You know, he might as well have run up Gareth Bale and gone, so you know that Michael Jordan documentary, what's it called? The Last Dance? Yeah, that one. How would you like to be a part of your last dance? Yeah? Now, hear me out. Because at this point, like, it wouldn't surprise me if you got Gareth Bale in straight off the golf course, not even to play, to do that role that Zlatan was rumoured to be heading into at Milan a few weeks ago, where he just comes in as some kind of...
Still is,
yeah. But when they first broke, obviously we discussed it. But I think the bottom line is, we said in the summer Page had to go. We're now in November. So what, 5-6 months later?
Yeah.
He's still there. He's still there. And whether they go to the Euros or not, which I don't think is likely, I just don't believe it's going to happen. I'd love for Wales to go. I'd love for Wales to go, but I think even in playoffs, does Rob Page get them over the line? I don't think so. You know, I think if you're going to go through playoffs, I think you need probably, right now with the situation, you probably need like a Jose 0405 or just a prime manager to come in. And I mean that in the sense of quickly turn it around. Because any other top manager comes in at the right now, obviously we need a bit of time to get their ideas across. But you can kind of see what I'm saying, that I think Rob Page has driven this team almost so low to the point where
the standards are on the floor.
They're looking, exactly, the standards aren't there and they're looking worse than they are. Because I tell you what, you give this team to okay, let's go out there. Let's go Antonio Conte, right?
You've
Let's
got
say
a different. That wouldn't work though. Let's ask him. That doesn't work.
I'm saying it from the perspective of it's a 3-4-3. He'd still find a way to do a lot more than what Page is doing. I'm not saying Conte's going to do that. I'm not.
Yeah,
point
I
is-
know what you're. I know what you're saying. My only thing is though is, I think when you look at it, ironically enough, when you look at the Wales team and who's generally best for them to go places, it's not about going for a proven manager. I don't think, ironically enough, Wales need a full-on proven manager.
I'm not saying they do. I'm just saying, for instance, for like the now, for just the playoffs, because of how bad Page has almost taken them down, in my opinion.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
future. I mean, yeah, go on, because I
They
want to hear
could
it.
they could instantly get a progressive manager in now, and they can do something. Like, I think there's certain options. Crazily enough, if you're playing a back three, we spoke about him on last week's show for banter, and we mentioned Nuno Espirito Santo. Ironically enough, he understands most of these players because of the Premier League. He would actually be okay for Wales.
I think so. And not only that as well,
I would agree. Yeah.
the Wales system is based off a 5 at the back.
Yeah, exactly.
Free-flowing, counter-attacking football. And the reason being is historically we've been lacking on strikers.
It'll get bloody Ravi Matondo back into the Wales setup and all. He's another one I've been banging on about, saying, why is he not in your setup? It makes no sense.
Exactly. This is another thing that I got to allude to. Page has massive favourites. And there's certain individuals that just will not, no matter how hard they try. And Connor Roberts is the exact reason. I want Noel Huggins to get into that right back side. I don't know why he's not, and why he's getting a chance, but Connor Roberts always seems to be there.
Do you have any left backs or wing backs? Because you've got Williams playing as a left wing back.
Yeah.
So you could easily move him across. But do you have any left backs or left wing backs you could use?
Aside from Norrington Davis, who is another one who's been omitted, Davis is playing at centre back.
No, Ben Davis would be
there.
pure like prime Mick McCarthy Cardiff tactics of 5 centre backs. That's what you'd be asking Ben Davis to do.
But his main position before being a centre back was left back, though.
Yeah,
he's naturally a left back.
Yeah, he is
as well.
I think you need to start looking around at players who are not in the periphery of other setups that are available. Like, we're looking, like the Scottish FA immediately have went for 2 English players that are eligible to play for Scotland that are never going to get included in the squad.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that we want Anthony Gordon and Harvey Barnes to improve our team says a lot. And Harvey Barnes right now excelling for Leicester.
If I was them, I'd say yes.
I would. Oh yeah, I would. If the Scottish FA are coming for me right now, I'm saying yes. I mean, the fact that they're willing to give Anthony Gordon a starting place because Southgate continuously overlooks him when he's been playing really good for Newcastle, I'd be like, go for it. Like, you're gonna get opportunities to play at European tournaments now because you've got age on your side. So does Harvey Barnes. I would take the opportunity. He walks straight into that left wing spot for Scotland. Imagine that front three right there. Potentially is like Shankland or Dykes, flanked by Gordon and Harvey Barnes, and in midfield you can still play Callum McGregor if you need be, but it allows Scott McTominay and it allows John McGinn to play in box-to-box midfield roles properly instead of having to play as 2 10s.
And that's filthy. Recently. That midfield and front line, that you could just free flow goals in that.
Oh yeah,
especially if it's set up correctly as well. I mean, the defense at the end of the day.
I think that's why we're looking. Ironically, I think that's why we're looking at the 4-3-3. Because if we're lucky, we still play a 3-4-3. But I think that's why we're looking at it. If we're trying to sign these 2 talented players, it's because we're going to say, well, these guys predominantly play in these systems. We already have natural fullbacks who are playing wing back for us in a back 3 system. We're willing to test
there is less emphasis on a partnership of Dykes and
Che Adams.
Yeah.
We're testing that
more.
I actually think the limit is crazy, and the good thing about it as well is it means Ryan Christie doesn't have to come in, who plays the winger for Bournemouth. He doesn't have to come in playing a wide 10 role. he can come in and just go back into the wing and transition. It allows, even though I've said numerous times, even though he scored last night, he shouldn't be in the squad, but it lets Stuart Armstrong play in a central midfield role because he ain't good enough to play as a winger. I think if you get that from your sense, look at players who are not involved in other setups and just be like, have you got any Welsh relations? And just try.
Jada Silva's been brought into the side, straight on the bench. Is a good option.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we're doing. I think we'll get, if we don't get Harvey Barnes by the Euros, I reckon we'll have Anthony Gordon in our setup for the Euros.
I think you want to as a bare minimum as well, because I think the way they got to look at it, and I know as long as their international appeal fits with it, is it that you want to be admitted from international football for eternity and England who just don't favour you, or will you fit in much better in Scotland, which they absolutely will under this Steve Clarke project, which is superb.
And we're not playing boring football either.
No, it's exciting. You're not.
I think the thing is with them, with Barnes and especially Barnes, because now in the last couple of years there's been this big influx of wingers come through, and if I'm Harvey Barnes, I'm like, do I want to try as hard as I can compete with the likes of Cole Palmer maybe, but then Sterling, Rashford, Grealish, with Rashford and Grealish being picked whenever, or would I go play for Scotland? I know I'm going to play, but not in the sense of I'm going to get complacent. I know I'm going to play in the sense of I will play all the time. What I'm doing is going to get valued. This isn't a manager who's going to keep playing out of form players who aren't, some of them which aren't even playing. So there's this, if I was both, maybe Anthony Gordon, I think maybe I'd give him another couple of months to think about it based on.
I think he's made his
Harvey
mind
Barnes, I think Harvey Barnes should do it just now.
I think Anthony Gordon's already made his mind up. Because
I haven't seen anything. What would make you say that? Is there something that's come out, or?
I think the reason why I'm saying this was because I think Cole Palmer is an excellent player. I think he is excellent, but right now, is he better than Anthony Gordon? In my opinion, no, he's not.
Based on form, no.
And I'm not. And I used to ridicule Anthony Gordon because at Everton, I thought he was massively overrated. I thought the Everton fan base massively overrated him. He went to Newcastle and he stepped up a level after he got called out for his attitude as well during that cup game. He got called out for his attitude. Remember that at half-time? Since then, he's just raised his game so much better to watch. He's a much better team player. He walks in that Scotland team, he's instantly our best attacking player. He is, in my opinion, instantly our best attacking player if he comes in. And I think Harvey Barnes is the exact same thing. And Harvey Barnes is 26 years old? Something like that? 25, 26?
So he's on the young side, yeah.
And Anthony Gordon's 20? 21? I don't care what anyone says. Fuck me, I'm taking an England under 21 winner straight into my team. That makes my team instantly better. And I'm I don't care who you are. If you're playing against Anthony Gordon with the pace he's got and the fact he can finish, he's got a good touch on him, he's got a good pass. Fuck me, we've got a dangerous winger in our hands. I'm not going to say he's Bukayo Saka-esque or whatever, but Bukayo Saka is England's best player in that attacking position. We instantly have our own version of Bukayo Saka on our team if we get Anthony Gordon. We've got that winger that can change matches. And I'm like, God almighty. I think we will get him and Harvey Barnes. I think that latest omission by Southgate is
huge for you guys.
Yeah, I think that omission is what's lost England a talented player, and I think he will come for us. And
I think he'd fit better in Scotland's system as well.
Yeah, he does. Because we play, funnily enough, how his Newcastle team plays. We're a good team to watch, but we are defensively organised. We are very quick with the ball, and we will look to attack you. We are hard to beat, but when we play really good football, you can see it. We were one of the best teams to watch in this Euro qualifying tournament. That's not biased because I'm Scottish. We generally were one of the best teams we were generally one of the best teams to watch. It's crazy, and we're one of the best teams in the Nations League as well. The only team that's better than us consistently is Austria. which is mental. I think we have something special there. And I hope we do land the two of them, Gordon and Barnes. I think if we don't get two of them, I like Harvey Barnes, but the one I'm taking most is probably Anthony Gordon. But if we get both, Jesus Christ, that is some choice going forward. I'm actually going to go and look and see if there's any updates on Gordon right now, actually. I'm going to have a look.
Interested in...
Oh, there you go.
It's the breaking news you just seen, isn't it, Reece?
No, but it's ironically enough, it's a way to stop them. This is from it is from a shit source, but it's actually worth reading. This is from the Daily Record. But it's the tagline: Scotland target Anthony Gordon is England Euro 2024 must take, insists Alan Pardew. The 22-year-old is Sean Bright for Newcastle, and Alan Pardew reckons he should be on Southgate's plane. Alan Pardew believes Scotland target Anthony Gordon must be included in Gareth Southgate's squad for Euro 2024. He is eligible to play for Scotland through paternal grandparents. But ironically enough, if we get that, that's another player that's eligible for us, because guess who else from that squad is eligible to play for us? So Elliot Anderson's already chose to play for Scotland. Mm-hmm. Harvey Barnes is eligible to play for Scotland. Anthony Gordon's eligible to play for Scotland. But have another guess who's in that Newcastle team that's eligible to play for us? Have a guess. He is a young player.
Lewis Hall.
Nope.
Longstaff.
No, thank God.
My mind has gone blank.
He is a defender.
Colwell?
Dan
Nope.
Burn?
Nope.
You said a young player. I don't think Dan Burn's that
No,
young.
I just throw that out there.
Young defender.
Mm-hmm. He is an understudy at the moment. Tony Livramento.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Tony Livramento is also eligible to play for Scotland, and he was quality at Southampton.
Yeah, that's just one completely out of my head.
Now imagine that Scotland's right-hand side for the next decade fighting with each other is Livramento, Nathan Patterson, Aaron Hickey. Just from right backs, and the left back it's Andrew Robertson versus Kieran Tierney versus Greg Taylor, who's okay-ish.
You see what Scotland are cooking now. You can see there's now a squad there.
The depth is just obscene.
The depth is impressive. It's not really been like that, has it?
And a ready-made number one in Angus Gunn as well. Despite injury, he's ready-made.
Interesting.
This is an interesting one. This is from Chronicle Live. Were they from Newcastle? But this is actually, funnily enough, from a pundit we all equally dislike, Chris Sutton. And the actual headline is: Raheem Sterling omissions could give Anthony Gordon food for thought on Scotland option. Chris Sutton believes Raheem Sterling is ahead of Anthony Gordon when it comes to earning an England call-up, and the pundit believes a switch to Scotland could prove tempting for the Newcastle forward. He should take it.
100%.
Because I get that Alan Pardew wants him to play for it, but where's he going to go? Like, where does Anthony Gordon theoretically start in an England squad? Like, he doesn't start any games ahead of Foden. He doesn't start ahead of Mason Mount. He doesn't start ahead of James Maddison. He doesn't start ahead of Marcus Rashford. He doesn't start ahead of Bukayo Saka, Jack Grealish. He doesn't even start ahead of Raheem Sterling. He doesn't even start ahead of Ollie Watkins if he played Watkins out wide. Like, where does he do it? The fact that an English player like Chris Sutton is telling Anthony Gordon to go play for Scotland because he knows he'll actually get to play for international football regularly says it all.
For me, it's too telling. I mean,
I would.
Chris Sutton just must know something behind the scenes because at the end of the day, he can see right through with Southgate and the squad depth that's there. He's going to favour the big names.
It's full time, by the way, in some matches, isn't it?
Yes, Italy. Breaking news, actually, Italy have officially qualified.
Told
Fair
you
play
they
to
qualified.
Italy.
Fair play to them.
I'll be
with a
very
0-0
interested
draw.
to see what Spalletti does in Germany next summer.
I agree.
4-2-3-1 and blitz the tournament.
I will be there no matter what.
They will genuinely be ready to go. That team, they might play the 4-3-3 tonight, but when they get to the main tournament, they're going to be insane. I'm still glad that El Shaarawy is still in that squad.
That's good, that is. But moving on to sort of a final topic, but it's a long one. We got another squad builder.
Yeah.
This is a fun one.
This is interesting.
Now, we mentioned a few names behind the scenes. Some of them that I mentioned completely shot Nathan.
Yes.
But we've got a few controversial ones here. And I think what we should do, squad builder, is we must have this. I want to make it very hard. We have to have a maximum of 4 Europeans, 3 from the likes of America, South America combined, North America and South America combined, 3 players, and then then we'll have 2 players from Asia, like so Japan and China and all that, and then 2 players from the African countries. Or we put it to 3 Europeans, and that allows us to have 3 from Asia, 3 from... Yeah, we'll do that. 3 each. We'll make it very fucking hard.
I like that. And in fact, I want to get the show on the road.
Yes.
With my goalkeeper option.
Go on.
Guillermo Ochoa.
Guillermo Ochoa has to be in there.
Yep.
That 2014 performance was off the back of a relegation in Ligue 1.
Yep, I think that's...
But nobody knew that, unless you actually knew, obviously. But to the common man, to the common football fan, nobody knew that.
It's a common man. You put that in my head now. You fucking ruined it now. That's actually that's a stronger shout than who I mentioned backstage.
Who
That's
did
a
you
strong
mention?
Neville Southall.
It is a very good shout because at the end of the day, Neville Southall, first thing you think of, Wales.
Yeah, I don't think of Everton, even though it's a good Everton team.
Gabor Kiraly is another name you could mention.
It's another one I'm going to mention as well, Sergio Romero.
Sergio Romero.
Probably the better version overall.
Low-key broke my heart in that semi-final shootout in 2014 because I wanted the Dutch to win it.
I didn't really care. They were either of them were getting beat by Germany anyway, so...
Hey, if it was a Germany-Netherlands final, it would have been the best because I would have won either way. Because I love both of them.
Germany would have flattened Holland in that final.
Germany would have won. Germany would have been the better team.
They would have scored 50 minutes early. They would have actually scored inside normal time. Right, how are we going to do this? Last time we done defense to attack. Do you want to do goalkeeper and then go from attack back?
Let's go from attack back.
Okay, there's one immediate thing I want to say. I said Nathan backstage. I had a few Scottish players in mind. Ironically, they're more famous internationally than club football. One player I had in mind, ironically, was Lee Griffiths. But he's also famous for, yeah. But he's also famous for being an absolute junkie. I was gonna say Lee Griffiths, but I think when you look at strikers and fame,
for me, there's one that screams out.
You can also put as a winger I was also going to say Carlos Vela. But David
would
Villa
say
was
yes,
another one I
but-
said too.
Yeah.
I was going to say Asamoah Gyan.
He's left back. Or left wing, depending on what you
No,
do.
that's
What
quite
about
well
left wing?
Asamoah. No, Asamoah Gyan, the striker.
No, the one that played for Sunderland and Juventus.
No, those are two. I don't know if Gyan played for Juventus, but
He
I don't know if
did.
you're thinking of a different Asamoah. Hang on.
I'm thinking of the one that wore number 3 for Ghana and skied a penalty.
Yeah. No, he didn't play for Juve.
He did play in Serie A.
He played for Udinese, yeah.
But they were shite. Still. Ironically enough, though, speaking of Udinese, Antonio Di Natale is another one.
Yeah, that's another good option.
But I think I think the one that's more famous for international than club career is, funnily enough, David Villa.
I was going to say closer, actually.
Yeah, closest top of my
Another
list.
name I was about to suggest, and it's in the chat now as well.
Close as another one. So
Beat
we
me
could
by 1 second.
we could put David Villa. We could put David Villa as a winger and still sneak close in.
Yeah, let's leave here for the wingers. So
Put David Villa left wing, close up front.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing.
He was one of the Germans I had in mind, but that's a good thing. David Villa has to get in. We just can't. Number 10. Ironically enough, he wore number 10. I'm saying Zico.
For me, there's one. It's a good shout. There's one that just screams it. Pele.
Famous for international career, yeah.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
Is,
When you think
yeah.
Pele, you think Brazil. You don't think New York Cosmos or whoever.
You don't
it was
think
he played for.
Santos to you either.
Santos.
No.
Yeah, I agree with that. Pele, yeah. Ironically enough, it's the same for right wing because you could say Garrincha.
Could do.
But are they the ones that you immediately want to go off? Because again, I could
Pogba.
also.
Paul Pogba, you could put in there.
Yeah, we could in midfield.
Could do. Another one I'd like to put at number 10, Lucas Podolski, Germany.
Ooh.
Bastard as well, missing an easy penalty. Yes, he's another one. Mario Götze as well.
Götze is a good shout.
Also,
Could you put Keisuke Honda in there?
yes,
Suki Honda was one I was thinking of for Asia.
Shinsuke Nakamura. Before he kicks people's heads off, he's kicking footballs into corners.
Do you know, when I think of Nakamura, I only think of
Celtic free kick against
Yeah.
Man United. What
not
about
just Celtic in general.
For me, I'm thinking of putting
I've
Honda at right wing.
I've got Honda, but I've also, funnily enough, just thought of another Japanese maniac. And I think you guys might go with even though I love Keisuke Honda, he was class for Milan and CSK Moscow and Japan, funnily enough. Nakata. The only club genuinely I think of Nakata is that Roma side that won the league in Serie A. But when it comes to
Ooh.
club football, I don't have anything.
I've just had a thought. Denis Cheryshev.
Cheryshev is on my list as well.
But nobody really
But
thinks of
he's a left.
Cheryshev.
Cheryshev's a left winger.
Yeah,
Mm,
but nobody
that's a good
thinks of
point. I just wanted to
Cheryshev.
get that name out there, almost like an honourable mention, because it just popped into my head.
What about
I-
Andre Arshavin?
No, so I don't know why Arshavin. The first thing I think of is Arsenal.
Yeah, I suppose.
But yeah, Cheryshev is definitely a number 2 to David Villa. But in my eyes, Nakata goes right wing.
He was just excellent for Japan. He was so good. Because you could also say even though it would really make us determined, because luckily Ochoa, Mexico, that's a good shout for left wing as well, and you can
Very
switch
good
V
shout.
around. Hristo Stoichkov is a great shout, because ironically enough, I was also thinking, I was also going to say Rivaldo.
Rivaldo was in my
Very
head
good
as well, but
shout.
I wasn't sure.
I was also thinking Rivaldo, weirdly enough.
It's tricky.
But we've got to be careful because there's so many good Brazilians and Argentinians in this squad that deserve shouts for their
I reckon
their
if we
career.
leave it like that and go with midfield,
Eduardo Vargas.
Vargas was one on my list as well for left back. No, right back, sorry.
We can certainly look at it later. We could change it up later on, I suppose. But I think right now this is accurate for a front four. Midfield, though. Ooh.
I'm going to throw another Brazilian out there, Paulinho.
I was going to counter that with Arturo Vidal, but that's actually insulting.
That
What
is
about Gary
especially for his
Medel?
club career.
What about-
I don't know, but with Medel, there's a bit of bias in there with me.
What about Leandro Paredes?
That's another good one.
Because I don't think about PSG and Juventus. I think about the fact of what he did with Argentina recently. Cameron
What about
Ainsley as
DePaul?
well. Cameron Ainsley is another one for Europe.
Based on that logic, Reece, what about Rodrigo De Paul?
Yeah, but that's another one. But he is well known, to be fair, from Atletico in Europe.
Missed out another great number 10.
That is a good one. Damn it.
He is.
Is Paul?
But again,
Is Paul
you're not
Pogba
gonna-
in the conversation here?
For me, no. The only reason it would have been if he would have kept a lid on his ego at Man United, just what he did with France. I think he'd go in there. And in fact, another thing I will say, it's very early on, but give it 10 years. If he doesn't smarten up his club career and he stays at PSG,
Mbappe could be there.
Mbappe could be there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
100%.
I was also thinking Fabio Redondo, but he's more famous. For the Real Madrid side.
Another one to add for Asia as well. Jednak, Australia,
Mm-hmm.
to balance it up a
yeah.
bit.
I was going to say potentially, gentlemen. It goes against one of my European mentions because I had a European that's funnily enough in defence that's German. That's definitely famous for internationals, not because he was a club player. But I was going to say Capdevila from Spanish. at left
Capdevila is
back.
on my left back list as well. For me, go
Yeah.
straight in.
Because I was debating between do I choose Capdevila or do I choose Benedict Hovedes?
Hovedes, oh my god.
Because
With
let's
all-
face it, him and Mustafi are only famous for that German team.
Yeah.
Not because anybody gave a shit about him.
Hovedes at that point was almost the perfect utility player. You could play him anywhere across the back four.
Yep. I'm happy to just leave that. That's our three Europeans via closer Capdevila.
I think so. Honourable mention as well, and we said this backstage. Materazzi, centre back.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the reason why he was famous.
Yep.
Another honourable mention I had at right back. This is extremely debatable. Just for the goal in 2018, Benjamin Pavard.
Yeah. No, it's accurate. It's accurate. How many South Americans have we got? Just the one.
We've
Yeah.
just got Pele at the moment.
switch the system round
Mm-hmm.
because push Pele into an actual like centre forward role, like push him like right further up and play like a 4-4-2, and put Nakata in a midfield role, because I actually think, funnily enough, a player on the right hand side I'm thinking of, ironically, is James Rodriguez.
Oh,
I reckon if you go like that,
Yep,
James at the 2014 World Cup. Oh my god.
was something special. He was great to watch, and Real Madrid really fucked him over. It's a shame.
and Everton as well.
It's a shame
Yeah.
because he went
He
into
was that
clubs, was used under Ancelotti, and then the next guy that came in, or next couple of guys who came in, didn't
Just
really play with 10s.
Mm-hmm.
They just chose not to even though he was a good right winger as well. I was like, why would you not use this guy? Like, he was that good. Beside Nakata,
James is the only player who, based on that 2014 World Cup performance, actually went into the barber shop and went, "Can I have this haircut, please?" That's how much I love the guy in that performance in the
Yeah.
World Cup.
I've always liked him, I've always liked him. I think he was good. I think he had the skill set. He was just badly mistreated. And no wonder his attitude just didn't get any better. It got worse. Because he was treated horribly by managers. I'm like, why would you do that to him?
Yeah.
Genuinely good manager. Speaking of international players, the most expensive manager in world football is in my midfield, and that's Diego Simeone.
Hmm?
And that
That's not
rounds
my
off
shout,
my that rounds off my South Americans, Diego Simeone. Because let's face it, even though he was playing for that Inter Milan team in the 90s, nobody really knew Diego Simeone until that England game.
Hmm.
True.
And after that, he became an absolute enemy.
And aside from
Many
Atletico
people.
Madrid, going back to his club career, who do you think of? And that's it.
Exactly. The guy's nuts.
Cleberson could be a midfield option.
Could be.
Yeah.
Just put it out there.
No, that's true. Yeah. Let's see. So we have 1, 2, 3 Europeans, 1 North American, 1 Japanese, and we've got the 3 Europeans. Unless you want to say Nakata's the only Asian-based player that works, and then we just look at just reforming the rest of the team by just any mention, then I'm okay with that, because Nakata and Honda were the only ones that really stood out.
Yeah, I can agree on that. I think let's go for it.
Yeah. Well, I think I have to go with what I said earlier on. I have to go with Benedict Hovedes at centre back, because he's the only one that nobody really knew his name until the World Cup. He became world champion by luck that his teammates were better than him. I think Materazzi also deserves to go in, but that makes right back fun.
What about Johnny Heitinger?
I mentioned him,
be.
funnily enough, backstage, because Nathan said he had a centre back that was Dutch.
Hmm.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I was going to put Mahiasen in centre back.
Is there? I was tempted to say, ironically, even though he won the Champions League with Barcelona, I was tempted
you could
to
say
say
Van Bronckhorst.
I was going to say Rafael Marquez.
Marquez isn't a bad shout, actually.
That's a good show.
For Mexico. I was going to say Marquez because he was solid every time Mexico played.
Hmm.
And everybody knew him in that way. Yeah, I think Marquez is definitely in that shout.
Yeah, so what do we reckon then?
Marquez is in that centre back for me. Yeah. Have a look. Has your dad said anyone else? Actually, I wonder. Let's have a look.
Not a defence, no.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the best number 10s. Oh, he actually said it. Your dad said Klinsmann. Here's a tough one, lads, because this is another German player I've got a lot of respect for. Actually, there's two, but it really comes down to, are they more famous for Germany or are they more famous for Bayern? I was going to say both Beckenbauer and Lothar Matthäus.
I think to the common fan, I think Germany.
Bear in mind, both
Matthäus
of them
on both. Yeah.
both of them
Matthäus
won Ballon
definitely.
d'Ors as well. Both of them won Ballon d'Ors. And Matthäus did end his career playing as a sweeper, so technically Matthäus can go into defensive a centre back position. Yeah, Matthäus.
He goes in. Then we just need
Double THUS.
well spotted.
Is there anybody else you guys can think of?
Van der Vaart.
As a right
No,
back?
even then,
No, he
Van
was a
der Vaart,
right back,
I
but-
still think of Tottenham.
You know, it's ironic, we haven't named any English players that are more famous for their national career, defensive
Well,
wise.
I think maybe not defensive. I think if you're looking at English players, I think apart from the poor strikers like the Darius Vassels of the world and stuff, I think.
What about Danny Mills?
Jesus Christ.
He was voted in the worst England team of all time.
And the trouble is, I only think of his career as England.
What about
more
Peter
than
Crouch?
club career. Crouch was someone I thought about as well.
I mean, he
'Cause
is
with
famous
the,
for...
with the amount of clubs he's had, it sort of spells it to just stare at England.
He is famous for pulling down a man's dreadlocks when he was like 5 feet taller than him. That Trinidad game was absolutely funny.
Got any more for right
Potentially.
back? England have had so many right backs, so it surprises me.
Yeah.
You could say Trippier as well if it doesn't work out in Newcastle, just because of that free kick goal in 2018.
But a lot of people know him from that Tottenham side as well, which is weird.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's a fair point though.
I've just thought of one, and it's a Wales one. Chris Gunter.
Played for
It's a
Reading,
good-
didn't he?
He did pretty much with his entire career.
Yeah, I was just thinking I couldn't think of anyone else he played for. I wasn't sure if it was because of that or just I knew him more for Wales.
Yeah, it's mainly Reading. Well, came through Cardiff Academy, spent his entire career at Reading, and then went to Charlton and Wimbledon.
I was
But
going
he
to
is
say,
like Mr. Wales, most cap player.
I was also going to say Lilian Thuram.
That's an interesting name, and I actually can see the thought process behind it.
I've just completely trumped Chris Gunter there with Lilian Thuram.
What about Cafu?
No. When I think of Cafu, I immediately think of the Milan teams that he was amazing with.
Hmm.
And I reckon about 90% of world football fans would do the same thing.
What about Maicon?
Not unless you want to get killed by Inter Milan ultras. But yeah, he's another one.
Because people forget he was at City for a year and then he went to Roma, and apart from the fact he got skinned by Bale, they think maybe he had a better career with Brazil, but
Yeah.
I'm just clutching at straws. I'm just trying to think of different international tournaments that we've watched. Like, maybe even Spinazzola to an extent, just from the Euros.
Yeah, but I don't know why Spinazzola. I think of Roma.
When I think of Spinazzola, I actually think of Atlanta.
I think of Roma reinventing the left wing back role as an inverted fullback.
Yeah.
More better version.
Yeah.
I think Lilian Thuram is an easy standout. I think he is, because when you look at the fact that he was amazing for Juventus, like he was, but more people remember him for the fact that he's the reason that France got to the '98 World Cup final. It was his goal. It was his goal against Croatia that nobody saw coming. Now, I mentioned earlier on for England players, I mentioned Paul Gascoigne. Behind the scenes, I mentioned Gascoigne.
Most relevant now would have been, if he hadn't taken the job, I don't think he'd be mentioned at all, but Gareth Southgate.
He could be the manager.
Yeah. Or Rob Page.
Absolutely shocking.
Just for the fact that he ended up in the Wales gig.
You know what? As manager, I've got an even better one. Aside from those absolute meme options, Jurgen Löw.
Nobody knew him, like, to be fair, except German fans during the 2006 World Cup, and then he just took over and became a God's gift international management until he fucked up in his last two tournaments.
Reece, I did want to ask you about that one time, actually. How did he mess it up in his final two tournaments?
So going into the World Cup 2018, obviously Germany had just won the Confederations Cup, which is an automatic red flag anyway. Winning the Confederations Cup is still an important trophy, but it's an automatic red flag. Because if you win the Confederations Cup, you're automatically, even if you're the defending World Cup winner, you're going to have a shit tournament. Like, look at Spain. They were the best team in football and they got pumped by Brazil in that final.
And then look at Brazil, obviously, at the World Cup.
Exactly. Then you look at Germany, easily tanked. Like, ironically enough, Germany won the Confederations Cup the right way. They won it with the young squad they were going to build it around. That's where Timo Werner Timo Werner obviously got first introduced to the international scene. And then he decided, well, I'm not going to play the likes of Thomas Müller. I'm not going to play Boateng, who was Germany's best centre-back at the time. He's not going to play Hummels anymore. He's going to stick to Marco Reus, who was very unlucky never to play in a main Germany side.
Always got injured at the worst time, didn't he?
Yeah, and he built around in Toni Kroos, reliable to stick around as your captain. I agree with that. He says we're going to build with these young players. These older players are never going to play for us again. So, and then after that, obviously Germany tanked it at the 2018 World Cup. But he then went against his word and he brought all those guys back. And he changed his system 2 or 3 times, from a back 4 to a back 3, back to a back 4, completely like mocking the players basically by they had no clue what system they were going to play. The style of play was just a full-on possession football now. The German pressing style was going. Like, they were losing all hope of being a pressing team. They got to the Euros, and Germany's hope was, if we can score a goal and just dominate the ball, we'll go through. It was really poor.
I think I remember reading somewhere, I can't remember who it was, whether it was a representative.
Bastian Schweinsteiger blames Pep Guardiola for the downfall of Germany.
It wasn't just Schweinsteiger. I heard it a few years ago. I can't remember if it was someone high up at Bayern or in the German FA, but they blamed Pep for it as well. I mean, but going off that, what about Euro 2016? Because that was almost like a transitional period between the World Cup squad and that. So what happened there?
That was still an experienced squad, so Kimmich was introduced for the first time. Mario Gomez was made the main number 9 because Klose had retired. Schweinsteiger's still there. Emre Can, God forbid, was in this squad. But the biggest mistake he made was he played a 4-4-2. Germany hadn't played a 4-4-2 since 2006. They'd gone away from the 4-4-2. They were playing the 4-2-3-1 as a system. The team didn't look at all. There was it completely nullified the wingers. It ruined Julian Draxler as well. Mesut Ozil as a number 10 as well. Ruined.
Lunacy.
Yeah, he completely nullified his best players to play a 4-4-2. And I'm like, why are you playing this? If anything, Germany should have lost to Italy. Even though I've got allegiances to both sides, I want Germany to go through, but even I said Germany should have lost to Italy. But when they got to the semi-finals against France, he thought the 4-4-2 was going to work against them. They were a man midfield fucked anyway. They really lost it. Should have played 4-2-3-1 and just matched the French, and you would have had a chance of beating them. But he let it get to his head. Transition too quickly. They didn't need to transition so fast. Going into World Cup 2018 made more sense to transition, not 2016 when you're still the best team in world football.
You can still transition, but it was almost like you transitioned, but he winged it in a way.
Oh yeah,
there was almost like no plan to transition. When you transition, you get some cases where we're going to stick with the same system and transition in terms of players, but then if you're going to transition through system, you've got to adapt obviously in a certain way. But almost like half the time, it's like what you're saying. Like one year he's playing 4-4-2, the next year he's playing 3-4-3, or it just keeps changing. So
that really annoyed me. From Joachim Low, who was literally doing it so well. He was doing it so well, and then he just completely butchered everything. I was like, there was no need. I'm going to show you. This is literally the squad that Germany had at Euro 2016. First of all, I was glad to see Draxler in the squad. Because I rate Draxler. But I rate Draxler. It's also the last time I saw Julian Weigl in the squad. And I was like, this guy's never been seen since, and I was gutted by that because I love Julian Weigl. But here's the Germany squad from Euro 2016.
Run it back.
Yeah, look at that. I mean,
Neuer,
obviously I've got
so much quality in there.
I've got it on my TV, so I can obviously I'm watching it, but because obviously I'm watching the stream from the TV. But look at that: Leno, Ter Stegen, Neuer, Boateng, Hovedes, Jonas Hector, Hummels, Mustafi, Ta. That was your back four. Ozil, Emre Can, Goetze, Khedira, Kimmich, Kroos, Müller, Schweinsteiger,
From
Weigl.
this summer onwards, Hummels and Boateng played together for Bayern. Hummels signed for Bayern that summer.
Correct. And then look at the attacking options: Draxler, Gomez, Podolski, Sane, Schürrle. I'm going to say this right now. This man should never have went to the Euros. Right here.
What, Müller?
Yep, should never have went.
Why not?
Even though he was Germany's best player, he should never have went to the Euros.
Who would have you picked instead, though?
I would have taken Ilkay Gundogan. And the reason why is because for some reason, and I don't know why, this is just something about him that makes no sense. Thomas Müller has never succeeded at the Euros. He's never scored a goal. He has never scored a goal. And I don't know why. It makes no sense. So that's Euro 2018. That was wrong. I mean, type because I hadn't changed it. This is the World Cup squad from 2018. This is how far, unfortunately, we have fallen. Watch this. This is where the real end. This is where the real problem with Germany really started, was qualifying for this tournament. Because first of all, who the hell says what gave Plattenhardt the right to be in that Germany team? Jonas Hector.
Plattenhardt, Ginter.
Inter Hummels makes sense, but Hummels shouldn't have been there. Sami Khedira, in the squad still. Julian Draxler had fallen off a cliff in the squad. Tony Kroos, their best midfielder, makes sense, and captain. Timo Werner, the best striker for the team, in the squad. Mesut Ozil, after this, never played for Germany again. Marco Reus
And was poor for
got injured.
Arsenal as well.
Yep. Marco Reus got injured at the tournament. Kevin Trapp, reliable goalkeeper. Thomas Muller at least had a decent, he at least scored. Leon Goretzka, his first tournament. Nico Sula, his first tournament. Antonio Rudiger wasn't good. Boateng was
He was
okay.
shocking.
Yeah, he was really bad in that tournament. Joshua Kimmich was great. Sebastian Rudy did nothing. Julian Brandt did nothing. Ilkay Gundogan was deservedly in the squad. Ter Stegen was in the squad, rightfully so. Mario Gomez was just lucky. But look at that. Germany's only 2 goal scorers that entire tournament. Reus and Kroos. Embarrassing. Like, that's disgusting. Now you look at them and I'm thinking, that's not the Germany that I supported. I still support. I'm like, that's not them. Like, they've fallen so far off a cliff. I think they'll have a decent tournament at the Euros, but the performance against Turkey as well. Like, that's another telling point.
Did Lowe overstay his welcome? Because I loved Joachim Low, what he did with that Germany side in 2010 and 2014.
Yeah.
If we're gonna, firstly, did he overstay his welcome? A follow-up question: when would have been ideally the best time to go? Answer in 2 ways. Firstly, based on tournament performances, and secondly, if there was a point where a better replacement was available.
Okay, to answer your first question, yes, he did. He got the job. He got the job post World Cup 2006. He was in the job after Klinsmann left.
Yeah.
When Germany finished 3rd at their own tournament, he got semi-finals, back-to-back tournaments at Euro 2008. His first major tournament, he gets a final. At Euro 2008, loses to Spain when they should have won the tournament. They again got semi-finals, finishing 3rd at the World Cup in South Africa.
By Spain.
Yeah, again losing to Spain. Euro 2012, lost to a very poor Italy squad in the semi-finals. When that was
a disappointment.
That was Germany during Dortmund's best years when Bayern were about to come back, still playing pressing football. Should have theoretically been the better team to play Spain. I think they would have beaten Spain in that final. Then World Cup 2014 was, you would think, even though these players are coming to an end, there's still a good, vibrant squad here that let's build around.
There were winners in that
So
side.
it made sense. You go to the Euro 2016 as a favourite to win the tournament, even though it was in France, and you lose to the hosts in the semi-finals.
Who bottled the final.
Exactly. You then go to the Confederations Cup and win it, saying we're going to play with young players. So you play with young players and you win the Confederations Cup, and then you go to the tournament and you include a lot of older players. So you've already went against your word. For me personally, he should have left after World Cup 2018. I did say that that getting a final chance at the Euros made sense for him, but
for me, it was just delaying the inevitable.
He should have left.
No way that they were going to do well in 21.
Yeah, he should have left.
Everyone knew going into it they weren't the same. Everyone knew that.
They weren't great. He should have left. And me personally, I think there was 3 options that could have taken the Germany job.
Were they all at the same time, or were they in different periods? So if he left after 2018 or the Euros?
Same time, 2018 and 2020. One of them's already recently been in the job, but the German FA, the DFB, backed out on him too quickly, and that was Hansi Flick, because he was already familiar with the setup. The second one, again, is Jurgen Klopp. I think Klopp would have taken the Germany job then. I think he would have done. And the third one, still, even though I don't think he would get the job, but he wouldn't have been a bad shout. The third one is Thomas Tuchel.
Yes.
I do think all 3 were still in position to get the Germany job. And Jurgen Klopp is still favourite to get the job after Euro 2024. Julian Nagelsmann will not be retained as coach. And I think he knows that. And I think he's just proud to be coaching the national team. He won't get the sack. They won't sack him.
It'll be a mutual kind of parting almost.
He'll be allowed to leave and go back into club football. But I think Jurgen Klopp will be the Germany coach, even though I don't think he is suited to international football. I think he will probably be the one, because they've always courted him, and Germany will go back to playing the aggressive pressing style and they'll actually defend. Like, you'll actually see Germany defend better. Ironically enough, I think it'll be Germany or under Tuchel or Germany under Klopp, but I don't think either of them are suited for international football. I just think they'll go for them because they're the two high-profile German coaches. I don't know who else. They're not going to go for Ralf Rangnick. I don't know who theoretically they're going to go for, but their next appointment is massive. I think what they shouldn't do is they shouldn't give Julian Nagelsmann a false pretense. So he knows his contract is up at the end of the Euros. For me, he needs to have a good Euros. But this might sound horrible, and everyone knows how much I adore Julian Nagelsmann as a manager. The only way for me Julian Nagelsmann gets the job is if Nagelsmann wins the Euros. If you don't win the Euros, even on a 10-month contract, then you shouldn't be in the job. I know that sounds horrible, saying, well, why would you say this for another manager? Yeah, I would. If Thomas Tuchel got the job for 10 months, if Thomas Tuchel wants the job long-term, he has to win the Euros. Like, it's...
Earn it.
Yeah, you've got to earn it.
Get a project on merit almost. Right now, it's almost a case of they're trialing them.
If he gets to the semi-finals, or if he gets to the finals, then I think he's well within a shout of being kept. But
depends on the manner, though. Because a manager can get to the semis, but it could be in like a very luck of the draw, or it could be a very like they grind out 1-0 wins. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even against weaker sides recently, Germany haven't played well. They did play really well against the USA in Nagelsmann's first game, but
I think that's because there's been a sense of complacency that they're not in the qualifiers.
Yeah. I think when you get to the main tournament, you're going to see Germany really have to show themselves for the first time in a while, and I think they will. But one thing that's evident, though, is some of the players that weren't in the starting 11 against Turkey that should have started. So Goretzka should have started. Not playing a natural left back is another. David Brown, for some reason, isn't in the squad. Goshen's on the bench. I don't get it. Antonio Rudiger, even though I think he's a good centre-back and I think he's okay in a back four, he's more suited in a back three system. Managerwatch has been amazing for AC Milan. Why is he not being called up? I think Füllkrug is definitely the striker they've got to go with, but you can clearly see this Germany team really needs Jamal Musiala.
Yes.
That he has to be in that Euro squad. And Sané has to be on the left wing, not on the right wing, and he shouldn't be playing as a second striker. It should be...
His best position is on the left wing, even though he's maybe arguably not the same as he was 4 or 5 years ago. His best position is still from the left when he's being very direct.
I think Germany at the Euros, they've got to play the back four, not the back three. For me, full strength squad, I'm going Ter Stegen in goal, not Neuer. I've got all the respect in the world for Neuer, but he's done. It's Ter Stegen's time. Ter Stegen's got to be maintained as number one. I think right back wise, I'm either saying Klosterman or I'm saying Benjamin Henrichs. I think Henrichs has actually been okay in the last couple of games. Centre backs, I'm saying I'm going to go bold. I'm going to say Malik Thiaw and I'm going to say Antonio Rudiger, but I prefer a centre back that can play left footed, and that's Schlotterbeck. But I think Rudiger's the best choice beside him. But Malik Thiaw's been really good for Milan. I'm playing him. Left back, I'm playing David Raum because they miss a creative fullback option. Midfield, obviously, Gundogan's in the team because he's the captain. It makes sense. But then right beside him, I'm playing Kimmich. Kimmich should not be playing right back anymore. Front four, Serge Gnabry on the right-hand side. Musiala in the 10 role. I'm playing Leroy Sané in the left wing. And then up front, it's either you bring Timo Werner back into the fold, because he's been omitted recently for some bizarre reason. Either you put Timo Werner back in the fold, or you start Nikola Füllkrug. Either way, it has to be a striker, not Kai Havertz, not Julian Brandt, not Florian Wirtz. It needs to be players in their best positions, building a style of play. Like, this Germany's problem for so long is they've went to versatility players. Like, Thomas Müller should be off the bench at the World Cup. Great player, but I'm starting him off the bench in the 10 role. His experience is important. This is Musiala Füllkrug time or Musiala Werner time. That's it.
But is it dangerous to put such dependence on two players?
Well, considering the fact that they've got Goretzka, Gundogan, Kimmich as a midfield base there as well. Sané is one of the best wingers in world football. Serge Gnabry is the top scoring German player since Joachim Löw retired as manager. Like, there's 8 big players that should be doing more. Alternatively, you could drop the 10 role, play a midfield free. You could put Musiala, Sané as wingers if you want to.
Would that hinder Musiala though?
Musiala was fantastic as a left winger, to be fair, in his first tournament in Euro 2021. He played left wing against England. He was actually quite good when he came off the bench. I think you've got to look at it and see where does the system fit and where does it go. Germany, for me, the best setup is that 4-2-3-1. It always has been. But goodness sake, Kimmich has got to be a number as a defensive midfielder. He should not be. If he wants to play further up the field as a box-to-box player, then it should be Emre Can playing defensive midfield, not Ilkay Gundogan. Gundogan, I don't trust him in a holding role. He's another box-to-box player. Number 10 roles, it's either Florian Wirtz or it's Musiala. They're the only two. Strikers is Werner and Füllkrug. I never want to see Schade or back in the squad again. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think the Brighton boy should be back in a Germany squad again. I don't even know why he was called up. I think there's a good range of players that Germany have got if they can just play them, but I don't know if they are going to do it or not, but it's what I would do. That's what I would do anyway. I don't know.
Interesting.
But that's what they have to go back to. They need to go back to the 4-2-3-1.
I agree. Do you have anything further to add?
No, it was a topic I'd always wanted to ask him, but it never came up. And then when he started talking about it, I was like, oh, that reminds me. And, because obviously during that period, I didn't know Reece, so I couldn't ask him then. But, just conversations about throwback different points, getting your opinions from then is always quite interesting. They're opening like a time capsule almost. Like, what did you think about this 4 years ago? So, no, I've got nothing to add. Just sorry for being late.
Yes, all right. One other player I don't understand that isn't in the Germany setup, but I think he is good enough, is, ironically, is Ridley Baku. I don't, from a fullback perspective, I don't know why he's not in the squad. I think he's good enough to be a starting Germany right back. Especially because he's got pace, he's creative, and he's strong. Him and David Raum would probably be my fullback choices. Even though he plays in the MLS, Wagner's another one right now who's been doing very well at left back. I'm like, why is he not given an opportunity? I think there's so many options that they have presentable wise that they should go and just go and take it. I'd like to see opportunity pass through and just see where they go, but We'll see. But I still stand by it. Germany need the likes of Timo Werner back in the setup from an attacking sense. Like, it doesn't matter if it's striker or left wing, they really do miss Werner, and it was quite obvious because there's no goals. Because he really does get into danger spots that they lack. If they don't get it, then that's where they're going to fall.
Yeah, absolutely. And aside from that, I think we pretty much covered the floor, haven't we, guys? Which is good.
I think we have, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got the, obviously full-time results for this evening. I believe Albania have qualified in first place.
They have.
yes, you
said.
Congratulations to Albania, of course.
After
Yes, you
nursing
have.
the biggest hangover. Friday night we qualify, and then 2 days of pure drinking.
That is what we love to see. But aside from that, everyone knows it's going to be Carnage Wales tomorrow night.
I will be there no matter what.
He'll be there no matter what. Oh, it's going to be absolutely dire.
Mm-hmm.
Going to throw it out to the panel. Reece, smashed it again once again tonight. Anything further to add? And
It'll be
it.
a 2-2 draw for Wales tomorrow. On the flip side, Scotland have qualified, which I'm happy with. Italy have qualified, I'm happy with. Germany better fucking turn it around, I'll be happy. But in a positive nutshell, it's been a great show, one to enjoy, and next week it'll be good to review some club football. After a little while, we can talk some club football.
Indeed, and do you have anything further to add? Yeah.
I will suggest to the panel, if Paige gets sacked tomorrow, can we go live? we should go live. I just want to see Nathan's pure, fresh reaction to that. Whether we laughter or tears or whatever.
I think we absolutely should. But yeah, apart from that, guys, this has been the World of Football podcast. Another amazing squad builder, some amazing topics once again. We have smashed it this week. Remember to give it a like, subscribe, do what you can to support the channel and the podcast. That'd be appreciated. Remember to give it a like on Spotify and follow it once it's up. It looks like it's going to have to go up on Wednesday, unfortunately, because we've got the Wales game tomorrow. Another thing as well, I'm not here next week either, which sucks. So you guys, you're taking the reign once again. I know you. This man below did it, so it's time for me to be shot this time. So, but aside from that, everyone have a class week. I know you're all going to laugh at Wales, and yeah, club football is back on the weekend. So, have a good one, and we'll see you all next time. Enjoy it, lads. Enjoy it.
Live on YouTube. And listen back on Spotify. This is the World of Football podcast.